and welcome to Series 2, Episode 11. Tonight's episode features Jeff from Onslaught. Before that, let's kick off with some thrash. This is Welsh band Madaside and their track Death March. So that was Madaside and Death March. They've been on a hiatus for the last couple of years, but are starting to get back together, get new tracks. So we're looking forward to hearing what's coming next. Okay, next up is our interview with Jeff from Onslaught. Their new album, Generation Antichrist, comes out today, but we'll let Jeff explain that during the interview. Okay, this week we are really excited to welcome Onslaught bassist Jeff Williams to the virtual studio. Hi Jeff, thanks for joining us.
It's great to be here, my friend. How the devil are you?
Thank you, I'm good. How's things with you? All good?
Not too bad, yeah. Coping, that's the main thing.
That's it. So, okay, we usually start these interviews by kind of discussing the band, a bit of history, but kind of arguably, as you're part of UK's biggest thrash band, we can probably give that a quick skip. So what about your time in the band? You joined kind of back in 2006 before Killing Peace was released, is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
So what brought you into the band? How were you kind of seconded into these band of Onslaught mercenaries?
Well, I was actually, when Onslaught took their first hiatus after the Sanity album, I ended up in a band with Nige called the Power Junkies, which is a bit more of a traditional sort of heavy metal band rather than a thrash band. And played some demos and played a few gigs with that. It was a great band, really cool. And that went by the by, as a lot of bands did. I lost contact with Nige because this is pre-mobile phone sort of era, and I ended up working in a music store in Newport in South Wales. And someone came in with a Onslaught poster put up on the wall. And I thought, can I swear on this?
Yeah, we're free.
Good. I thought, well, fuck me, Onslaught are back. And I noticed there was a website address on there, so I checked it out. And seen that it was an email. Sent Nige just a fairly irreverent email, just saying, hey, great to see the band's back together. If you ever need a bass player, by the way, .. And he wrote back a day or so later saying, it's funny you should say that, mate. A month or so after that, I found myself rehearsing with the band. Now, the thing is, up until that point, I'd actually stopped playing bass for about 12 years. So when I was actually asked to join the band, or asked to audition, rehearse with the band, I hadn't picked up a bass for 12 years. I didn't have a bass. And so I literally bought one that day from the shop, sat down, and I thought, okay, where do you put this fucking thing? So I'd never played with Plectrum before. I'd never played in a thrash band before, so it was a bit of an eye-opener, that.
That's a steep learning curve then.
Yeah. Well, and then my first gig was in Finland, a place called Oulu. It was some big festival over there. And again, it was the first time I'd been on stage for 12 years plus. I remember hitting the stage and thinking, I don't know where to put my feet. Just like it just felt so unnatural. And I remembered someone telling me, if you're in a metal band, always stand on stage like your feet have just had a really bad argument, and they want to be as far apart from each other as possible.
The power stance.
But the power stance, and I took the power stance, and I just kept it terrified. It was awesome.
So were you playing anything else? Did you play guitar or anything nice like that, or would you completely stop anything with strings for that period of time?
I stopped playing. I started. I was playing in other bands as well at the time. But no, I just stopped and I started managing music stores, moving around the country doing that really. So I never lost my love for music, and I always got involved in music, but not the playing side of it. It was more the retail side of things. But and it was when and I basically had said to everyone, like, the only way that I'm ever going to get back into a band is if it's a successful band and they're touring the world. And what's the chances of that happening?
Yeah. There's a especially if you want to be in the UK, there's a small handful of those.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So no, it was fatalistic, shall we say?
Yeah, one of those, as you say, it's one of those right time, right place. If you turned around and not seen the poster, and things could have been very different.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. No, it was really cool. Yeah.
Was that pre or post Killing Peace? Was that in kind of pre-album at that point, or?
I was rehearsing with the band because Jim plays bass on Killing Peace.
Right.
But I was rehearsing in the band while Jim was still rehearsing for the album, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So because Jim had made the decision that due to work commitments, he was leaving the band. So there was no animosity or anything like that. So he would do his parts, and I'd sit there and listen to what he was playing, and then he'd sit down with me and we'd go through some parts and bits and pieces, and then he'd rehearse with the band. Or he'd rehearse with the band after that.
So there's quite a nice transition then. You had a bit of a, both of you doing the job at the same time in some way as a handover to while you were kind of getting yourself up to speed, especially with the new tracks, I guess. It's harder. It's even harder when it's brand new and you can't go and watch, old footage or something of old songs.
Yeah. No, exactly. It was it was a good, a really good learning experience. And,
yeah.
It was a pleasant transition, and that's rare.
So obviously you've been an active member since then. And how does kind of songwriting approach work nowadays? Is it a kind of collaborative thing? Does everyone pitch in ideas, or is there a kind of couple of key writers and they kind of bring you the skeleton and you work from there?
Yeah, it's a case of you're sort of presented with riffs and song ideas. With the lyrics on the new album, Mike did the majority of those, but I was sending ideas and we were knocking ideas back and forth on those. Working on some melodies and bits and pieces, but the majority of it came from Nige and Wayne, the new guitarist, came up with quite a few riffs and bits and pieces on this one as well. So you kind of presented pretty much a finished product, and then you get involved, in shaping your parts then before it goes to the studio. And again, if there are any problems, everybody's more than welcome to chip in and sort of change things around if needed. But more often than not, it's okay, there's the song, do your part, bring your personality to the track, and kind of where you go.
Do you find that you have to end up making changes as you get to the studio? That something, although it sounds great when you're playing it at home or in practice, it doesn't work when you track it? Or do you tend to, by the time you guys get in the studio ready to record, you've got everything pretty tight and you're ready to, you're just ready to run through and track your own bits?
Yeah, exactly that. But by the time you hit the studio, the songs have been demoed over and over again. They've been tightened up. They've been, cut and worked on. And so by the time you go to the studio, there's pretty much a finished product.
Okay. So you kind of touched on this before. What about pre-Onslaught? What made you pick up bass in the first place? And kind of some of those other bands you've been in. You mentioned one of them, but you played in quite a few bands. You kind of what was made the 4-string Beast the instrument of choice?
Well, I wanted to be in a band because I've got a colossal ego, so I wanted to be in a band. I wanted an instrument that I could play when I was drunk, and something I could learn in 10 minutes. So somebody suggested to me, you should be a bassist in a metal band. So there I am. Yeah. But the truth of it is I started when I was about 15. I had a guitar for a Christmas one year for a present. And back in the 80s, I quickly realised that you had to be superb just to be average. Because the guitarists in the metal and the rock bands back then were phenomenal. Plus, I also noticed that all my friends played guitar, and all their friends played guitar, and no one was playing bass. So I thought an opportunity. I did genuinely want to get in a band, and I thought the opportunity to get into a band would probably make more sense if I switched to bass, because there'll be more opportunities. So that was, again, 15, going on 16. I was quite a late starter. And, plus, there are other things, it's just a cool instrument to play, and it's enjoyable. If I find it, I still like playing guitar, but I don't tend to play rock or metal on guitar. It's more laid back sort of stuff. And the bass, I just took to it. I think it suits me better.
So what about your musical influences? We kind of read a bit that you're a bit of a big Kiss fan. Is there any is there any other influences as well as, or is that full Gene Simmons big ego 4-string? Is that all part of that?
Well, I've always I grew up listening to classics like 60s and 70s and 80s rock and metal, and just everything that you think. But I was always drawn to the theatrical bands, Kiss, Alice Cooper, etc., bands that put on a show. You got your value for money. The thing with Kiss is, again, way before I started playing, there was a little music store in Abbotsleary, which is where I'm from, in South Wales. And there was Kiss Alive 2 in there. I wasn't into rock music or anything at the time. I remember opening that gatefold and seeing the gatefold with Kiss Alive 2, and just thinking, fuck, that's what I want to do. That is what I want to do, and it sort of got me into music, and I said the after it. But because I was basically listening to my brother's record collection, because I couldn't afford to buy records of my own, and my brother wasn't a Kiss fan, I didn't actually hear Kiss for years later. Okay. I remember thinking, I had this picture in my head about Kiss Alive 2. I think, well, if Motorhead sound like they do and they look like that, then Kiss, I can't even fucking start to think what these guys must sound like. And then the first Kiss album that I actually heard was Unmasked, which is a really fucking strange day for me.
Confusing. I think there's a meme out there, I think, that is exactly the same about Ghost. It's like what Ghost look like and what Ghost sound like. And there's like two kind of diametrically opposite pictures. Yeah. Was it a bit like that?
Yeah. It was exactly that. I remember just that little noise with the vinyl clicking away, just before the first track kicks in, and then the snap of my jaw hitting the floor. It's just like, what the fuck is going on? I learned to love it.
It's one of those. It's quite a common story, isn't it? I think that because I think that Kiss looked like a cross between superheroes and horror movie and rock stars, that it enticed loads of people back in the, I guess, early 70s, and that whole image, especially with the makeup. You hear it on Scott Ian and all those people in the big four. They all cite Kiss as a bit of an influence, at least, again, as you say, from that stage presence side of life, and the image, which is bit as you say, not quite what it always seems.
Well, no, but then the early songs, are very simple songs, but they're belters, so they're cracking songs, and for me a great example of what basic songwriting is. They're good, catchy songs. And again, the thing with Kiss, Christ, I've seen Kiss 40 odd times at least. And apart from one of the best live bands that you'll ever see, they're fucking loud. And those songs come across they're so much heavier live than on any record. So if anyone out there in Radioland, if you want to catch a band, go and see Kiss before it's too late.
Sounds like a good chance, yeah, because I guess they're not going to be carrying on for too much longer.
I fucking hope not.
Especially. So what about other influences? What else kind of floats your boats in the musical world?
Well, like I said, all your classic rock, sort of your Deep Purples, your Rainbows, AC/DC, Dio. I loved Van Halen. I was a huge punk fan back in the day, so the Sex Pistols and the Damned in particular, I love. Again, as I got more into bass playing, I started getting into funk and disco, and things like that with the great bass lines. Then I've recently gone back into listening to lots of 70s glam rock again, the Sweets and Slade and that sort of stuff. It's fucking brilliant.
So real diverse mix.
I love Frank Zappa. Yeah, the huge Elvis fan. Tom Jones, naturally, because I'm Welsh. Keep it varied. That's the best way of doing it.
You get kicked out of the country if you weren't a Tom Jones fan, wouldn't you? They'd push you over the board, push you over into Bristol. You wouldn't be allowed to stay.
I know, and yeah. That's true.
Okay, so bringing it up to date. Obviously, new album, Generation Antichrist, comes out 7th of August. A lot of people hopefully know by now that Si decided to call it a day with the band and go on to kind of focus on his career a bit, and Dave's taken over the vocals. Obviously, that's for any band, especially vocalists, is a big deal when there's a change up. Were you guys worried about how the fans would react, and what was going to happen with Onslaught?
Well, yeah. I mean, it would be. The thing with the Sai is, the guy's a legend, and he's never going to be replaced as such. You just get somebody else in to sing, if that makes sort of sense. Saying that, and the first rehearsal with Dave, any concerns that I had were immediately laid to rest. So much enthusiasm and aggression and energy, and he just fed off it. I mean, we played one show in Sweden with Dave before the whole shutdown thing, and it was different. Sai has got an almost theatrical approach to the stage play, and he'll be the first to admit that. Whereas Dave was just like old-fashioned, sort of 80s style, in-your-face thrash metal aggression, and it was, you could just feel off it. It was like fucking electric, and so I'm looking forward to playing a lot more shows with that man, and I think it shows on the album as well. There's an energy in there, there's an aggression there that I think people are going to really, really like when we finally take this out on the road.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I've reviewed the album already, and I think that I commented that he's got a bit of a death metal tinge to it, but I didn't mean kind of Cookie Monster vocals. I meant about that aggression. He brings a bit of spite into the back end of the lyrics. Sai is really strong, and as you say, but there's just something extra. There's just a little bit of punch there that wasn't there before, that kind of really hammers home, especially the lyrics on this album being quite dark, and the anti-establishment theme and that sort of stuff on there. It just makes it really strong.
No, I agree, and the thing he's got a good, powerful, aggressive voice, but he's also got range, which I think makes a lot of difference as well. He's not just burping the alphabet. He's actually singing, and there are dynamics there, and I think that makes a lot of difference and raises him up as a vocalist as well.
Yeah, no, I think and I think that keeps in with the direction that you guys have been going. Because apart from the blip of In Search for Sanity, albums have got heavier and heavier and heavier. Whereas, I think people. I saw a couple of posts when it was first announced that Sai was leaving with his Grinnet coming back, and it's like, I couldn't, which I'm sure in some ways would have been completely bonkers, but you couldn't see that natural travel, because it's felt like Nigel's continued to make the band heavier and heavier rather than go away from that kind of that kind of heavy metal of that 89 album or whatever it was, where it was a bit power metal.
Yeah. No, that was it was never going to go back down that route. In fact, me and Nigel had a conversation a couple of years ago that was when we first started about talking about putting the new album out, and we were on a particularly long flight going wherever we were going, and started talking about the new album, and basically came to the conclusion that we need more aggression on this one. We need. I love the last two albums, the slick production, etc., but we said we need this to be a dirtier, more aggressive album with a different sort of different approach, more aggression, slight punk attitude towards it. So that was, that was something that was definitely sort of that we were heading towards, while we were putting this album together anyway. And Dave's voice, fitted that idea that we had in our heads absolutely perfectly.
Yeah, definitely. So I end up speaking to quite a lot of small bands, a lot of, demo bands, first albums, Metal to the Masses, kind of competing bands, all that kind of grassroots stuff, and you talk to them about their recording process and how they do it, and, you hear stories about, kitting out their mum's shower with egg boxes and trying to record vocals and things like that. I'm guessing you guys have got a slightly different approach. But I still guess it's not, all get in your private jet and get whisked off to the Bahamas. It's a little bit less exotic than that. But how does the recording process work for you? Do you go in as a band and leave as a band, or do you kind of go in small groups and track bits?
It's unfortunately, it's the latter nowadays, just purely because of you're trying to fit the band around real life, because. And budgets and everything else that comes on that go with that as well. Saying that though, we were very, very, very close to actually recording the album in a studio in Rio de Janeiro. And the only reason that we didn't do it in the end was just purely through scheduling. And the only reason that we wanted to do it is to come across as Splash Bastards.
You went to Wales to record yours. We went to Rio. I can imagine that conversation at the back of a show.
Yeah, no, there's a really cool. Well, that was that was we just thought this is going to make a great Facebook post. But yeah, we were really, really, really close to actually making that happen. But again, real life sort of takes over, and so in the end, what happens is we tend to record in smaller local studios, individually. The previous album and the album before that, I actually recorded my bass in my living room in my flat in Cardiff, where it was at the time, and then emailed them off to the guys mixing the record. He writes back and says, "Okay, these are all good to go," or whatever. So you record. Your stuff is emailed off to altogether, reamps it and sends back mixes, and then everything is basically, back and forth with emails and all that sort of stuff to get the album that you want. So unfortunately, it all comes down to budget. Like recording that way would be a wonderful thing, but like I said, it's in the way of that sort of shit, unfortunately.
Yeah, sure. And so in reality, you're kind of, even though you're arguably the biggest band in the UK, your kind of style of recording isn't that much different from, the lads down the corner of the street. I guess the majority of your money goes into getting these guys to pull it together and to do the mastering and put all the effort into that rather than the studio time itself.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with the way things are recorded nowadays, because you literally record digitally. So we record digitally as long as the signal is good. That can be sent off pretty much anywhere. It's the person at the end of the chain that makes the magic, and in the end it's the producer that puts it through all the valve this and all the compressors, and then actually reamps the guitars through real amplifiers at massive volumes in studios, etc., etc. But because the actual recording system or the recording process is so easy now, one, it's great because it gives, like I said, local bands the opportunity to put out sounding demos, records, whatever.
Yeah.
But it does take, it's a shame. It does take the magic and the mystique out of it. But that's the way it is. I'm an old spunker, so I like things as they.
Back in the good old days. Exactly.
When all this were fields. Fantastic.
So obviously, a few people have started reviewing. Has everything been quite positive feedback so far for the album? You've been getting some good reviews.
It's been absolutely superb. Yeah, couldn't be happy with the reviews that we're getting in at the moment. Yeah, and like I said, everyone's liking the aggression and the production on the albums, the songwriting. I think it's a combination of good musicianship, aggression, and it's got some hooks. I wouldn't say it's not commercial in a Bon Jovi sort of sense, but it's got hooks. I think it's got melody in there as well. Honestly, couldn't be happy. Yeah, that's some great reviews on it.
There's definitely some kind of sing-along parts. I was just I just nipped into the local town and I had it on in the car, and it was, even with maybe a dozen playthroughs, I'm singing along to certain bits, and it's like, that's stuck in my head. That's good. So you can see where when you start playing live, people are going to be chanting the choruses back at you and things like that. So
but that's something that we always had in mind with it. It was going to be an album that will translate well live. Because we've got ideas for the next tour, we've got ideas for a much bigger show that we'll be taking out, and the music is going to be a really good, or I should say the stage show is going to be a really good backup to the music, so visually it's going to be as impressive and as aggressive as the music, hopefully. So yeah, it was all about the live show, with the album.
Excellent.
Hopefully.
So since 6 came out, which was I think 2013, obviously Thrash Landscape keeps moving. Zentrix have come back. Acid Rain have come back. Both big albums. There's young bands like Shrapnel that have kind of had a great release this year.
Yeah.
Is there pressure on yourselves? Do you guys feel the pressure to actually make sure that you don't become these kind of redundant old men and you dust it off and come out with a big heavy hitter?
Oh, fucking yes! Of course, there's a lot of pressure to put out the best album that you can, with the best production and stuff. You've got to, it's especially now with with downloads and music being so throwaway, for want of a better description. You have to come up with better albums. A better songwriting in order to hook people, in order for people to get interested, because there's so much more choice, and it's so much easier to get, to get your music, or to listen to as many bands as you want. So in order to stand out, in order to, to get people to invest in your band, you have to release great music, or as certainly as good an album as you can. And some of the new bands are fucking superb as well. You've got to match. You've got to match the energy and the aggression that these kids are putting out. I think we do a good job.
No, definitely. You're not quite going to pull out the Zimmer frames and make you hobble around stage just yet. I think you've got there's a bit of there's a few years in the old trooper yet, isn't there?
No, we do that backstage now.
It's just the next morning it hurts a bit more than it used to.
Oh God! Yeah.
So kind of, it's a really good time for thrash at the moment. I kind of my sweet spot was kind of 1988, 89 when I was 16, 17. But there seems to be a bit of a real big second coming again at the moment. That there's tons of young bands, as you say, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds are all, high tops and tight jeans and cut off Megadeth t-shirts. So do you think it's good that you see that we're seeing those bands, and do you kind of keep an eye on them? You're looking for future support acts and who's coming after you, or kind of as a fan perspective, do you kind of keep an eye on the scene?
To be perfectly honest, for the last since the start of this year, I haven't really been listening to a great deal of thrash anyway, and this is one of the things that I really miss about touring, because I always love catching the local bands, the support bands, etc., and because we get to play around the world, you get to see, you're in Vietnam, and there's a young Vietnamese thrash metal band, fucking ripping the stage up, and it's just like, well, that's just the fucking best.
Yeah.
But I don't to a great deal when I'm at home, to be honest. So but when I'm, like I said, it's one of the things that I miss from touring is catching these bands, and I think the best way to catch any thrash metal band is live, and just see what they see what they can do. But yeah, when we back out there, I'll have a better idea on
who's there,
what's going on with it. But at the moment, I will have to confess that I'm not with it.
not down with the kids.
Down with the kids at all. No, not in the slightest.
Bow to the Clown. Bow Down to the Clowns has just come out as the kind of with the full video
Bow
to
to
it.
the Clowns.
Bow to that. Video done by our mate Andy Pilkington. How was that filmed? Was that during lockdown, or was that done before you hit this whole COVID situation?
No, that was done during lockdown and right in the middle of it at its worst, and especially again because I'm in Cardiff, the Welsh lockdown has been a lot more severe than the English. It's so we recorded it in a green screen studio in Birmingham. I literally had to sneak out of Wales. And everything that had to be scheduled, like a military operation, to keep the social distance within the. We had to have separate rooms, to do whatever we had. Then certain members of the band came at certain times and left at certain times. It seriously took some organising to make it work. But and again, it was the intention was always to have some green screen element in the video, but we were talking about some live sets and pyros and this, that, and the other. But obviously, as due to the circumstances we had going, everything became green screen in the end. But no, the guys who filmed it was Silver Spider Productions, who actually did the film, and they were superb. It's actually the same guy who filmed A Perfect Day to Die, and Andy did an absolutely cracking job on putting all the footage together and the elements and whatever. Yeah, superb. I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, it's really good.
I was going to say we knew it was going to be a little divisive. But we just want to do something different, basically.
A little bit of kind of divisiveness is a good thing, isn't it? Because at least it gets people talking. Sometimes it's the old, if no one's talking about it for any reason, that's the worst thing to do. So even if people are talking about it for like, God, wow, what have they done here? It's, it's getting shared and getting seen, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think because of the subject matter of the track, if people are thinking about it, then it's working perfectly.
So you're all wearing makeup in the video. I guess somewhere between.
I wear makeup.
Kind of mixed between the Joker, Crow, a bit of corpse paint. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah.
Wearing the mask, was that did it allow you to play that persona more?
No, speaking purely, from myself. I went to the shoot early with Dave to help out. With some direction and production with him. And in order to make things transition easier, I put my makeup on quite early. I actually spent most of it on, and I actually forgot that I was wearing it. So I didn't have that big Gene Simmons moment that I've always wanted. It was just like, fuck, okay. So and it just felt like going in front of and I had everyone's like, are you wearing makeup? You wearing something? But because I've been wearing it most of the day, I'd actually forgotten that I had this stuff on. And it was only after we finished that I caught myself in the mirror that I washed it off before I go back on the train to go home.
I was going to say you didn't get stopped on the bridge.
No, no.
Stop.
I should have. See, a wasted a massive wasted opportunity.
At least people would have given you a bit of social distance.
Oh, that would have been great, wouldn't it? But I think everyone enjoyed it. It was it was fun. It was nice to go out there and do something that wasn't the usual, standing in front of the back line and pulling some shapes. I think it was. I think it certainly got people to behave differently when the guitar was put on them. You could just see the facial expressions and everything just changed completely. So yeah, it definitely had an effect.
So you're going to take it to the stage? Can you ever see that you're doing, you slipping off between tracks and slapping on the corpse paint to get it back out?
So what was that? Slip knot in between tracks?
Slipping off the stage, not slipping. Yeah, I'm not expecting you all to start wearing leather gimp masks.
I don't think so, but never say never. But as it stands, maybe a Halloween show or something might be fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool, wouldn't it?
But maybe something like that. But it's more than likely that was it. It's a one-off.
Okay, I've got a few questions that followers of our social media asked. So. First one's from Paul Hutchins. He said, has there ever been talk of re-recording In Search of Sanity with the heavier lineup? So have you ever thought about going back to some of those polished Grimmett tracks and giving them a heavier twist?
It's already being done. So yes, definitely. We've already started recording it.
Oh, brilliant. What, the whole album or just certain tracks?
We've started with I think we've got the music for 3 tracks now. Yeah, so we've got the music down to 3.
Oh, brilliant.
And so it's and it does sound. It sounds good.
And completely different.
Yeah, so completely different, but strangely the same. No, it's a lot different. I mean, it's a lot more aggressive. The guitar sound is it's just pumping. It's going to be great. But so yeah, the answer to that one is we've already started. So yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. Life of Sheeza asked, are the groove elements from Killing Peace onwards intentional?
Oh. I think, if I remember correctly, Nigel at a disco one evening, and we were thinking, wouldn't this be great if we did some of this in an Onslaught? No, you'd have to ask Nigel. I should imagine so. Yes, and again, there's a lot of groove in thrash metal anyway. So you've got to get your old school. I do hate that expression, but you need to get your older influences, and your modern influences too, and meld them together. You've got to play what you like. I should imagine they are deliberate, but again, Nigel would know better than that.
Or subconsciously deliberate, if nothing else.
Yeah. Well, again, like I said, it's surprising how many bands, if you deconstruct a lot of classic thrash, a lot of it's got a strong groove to it anyway.
Yeah, a lot of that's down to how it's mixed, I think, as well, isn't it? Especially sticking the bass a little bit higher in the mix makes it sound a bit groovier if you've got a nice beat going through it.
And how the vocals ride over the top of it, etc. Yeah.
Okay, so last one from Andy Yates. What gets your back up and annoys you the most?
Oh, fuck it. Well, I've got that age now with most things. Most things.
In everything.
Everything. Absolutely fucking everything. Yeah, I mean, the thing that, one of the things that seriously gets my back up, social justice warriors. And so, if somebody genuinely has an issue and they're genuinely concerned about it, And there are lots of things in this world that are shit and need changing desperately. Then fucking great, more power to you. It's the people who jump on those bandwagons that don't no right to be there whatsoever. And basically the only reason that they do it is to appear saintly and holier. Those people, like I said, who vacuous virtue signalling, and it happens with companies and it happens with individuals and stuff. So that's that sort of stuff, that gets me screaming at the TV.
Do you think
and the last season of Game of Thrones as well? That was
it's fucking so. Do you?
There you go.
Do you think social media plays into that a little bit? Do you think it's kind of everyone with like Facebook and Instagram have got this platform to stand up on and get on their soapbox and sprout off about shit they know nothing about?
Well, yeah, of course, because they use it as a method to one, if you check your Facebook and you get an extra little like there's an extra little endorphin hit, and you're feeling a little bit better about yourself, and look at me, I'm so much better than anyone else. And people use it as an agenda to sell themselves, to give themselves worth. And because some people have never done anything worthy in their lives, they look to climb on the shoulders of others to try to achieve some sort of self. Social media, unfortunately, is a way of amplifying that.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing about it is because it's gutless, because there's no real face-to-face confrontation or conflict whatsoever. Anybody can be a keyboard warrior, at a distance, and it's all bullshit. So there you go. Those are the things that piss me off. Good question. I like that
that's
one.
good. That was a good one, Claire. Okay, finally from me, have you got any final shout-outs, plugs, anything you want to, any pitches you want to throw in before we wrap the interview up?
Okay, well, as you kindly mentioned, the new album is out. Is out August 7th. AFM Records. Buy it. It's available for download for all your favourite download sites. It's available on a very nice limited edition vinyls, different colours and all that wonderful stuff. It's available on a digipack CD format. All the artwork was done by yours truly, so it looks nice. Get yourselves out there, buy the record, enjoy life. There you go.
Wait, you've just led me into another question I wasn't going to ask, so I hadn't realised you did. So all the art and graphic design work is yours, is it?
On that one, yeah. I started Killing Peace was the first album that I did. So I did on that one. I did Sounds of Violence. Six was very talented artist. He did the cover, but all the artwork in the booklets and all the layouts, etc., were done by yours truly. And yeah, I did everything for all the single covers as well.
Is that the day job, or is that kind of a hobby that's morphed into?
No, it is part of my day job. I do graphic work for a guitar company as well. I do advertising and graphics for those and adverts. I mean, I'm just starting the third year of university and doing a degree in advertising, so all the illustration and stuff is coming into that as well. So yeah, keep myself busy.
That's good. It's useful having all those skills in house. If you could make sure all the band members had a different skill set, you could save yourself a fortune as a band.
Well, this is the thing. This is why as a band we're very self-contained. We manage ourselves. I tend to do, like I said, the artwork, the t-shirts, all the merchandising is organised by ourselves. Nice does a lot of the business side of things. I help out with that. We've got booking agents now, but we're like all that sort of stuff as well. So, so we're very much in-house. We sorted out the video, we did the direction, we did the, all the everything that we wanted to get from it. So yeah, we try to keep things as in-house as possible. It's good. It works out really well.
Okay, Jeff, thanks for taking time to speak to us. We're really looking forward to
Pleasure, sir.
everyone else hearing the new album. I think we've got another couple of weeks to enjoy it before everyone else gets a chance. And it's quite nice. You can wander around with a smug face knowing that you've heard it. But otherwise, again, thanks very much. Look forward to catching you guys live in the very near future.
Good stuff. Hopefully next year we'll get out there and do it. It'll be awesome. Thank you very much, my friend. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, mate. Thanks to Jeff for spending time talking to us. This is Bow Down to the Clowns by Onslaught.
To a world of bounds, leads in every way. White face, fake pain and smile, born into pretend. Pacifying all around, in darkness world descends. We only see what they want us to. We only read what they want us to read. We only hear what they want us to. They want to make us bleed. Bow down to the clouds. When the circus comes to town, bow down to the clouds. Watch the puppets dance and drown. Who's wearing the crown? Pulling strings, we all fall down. Bow down to the clouds. The greatest fucking show in town. Stand up for the star attraction, the carnival of freaks. Walk into a ring of fire, a masked pretender speaks. Heads clap, swinging candy lights, fear becomes a friend. Step up to the carousel, the magic never ends. We only see what they want us to. We only read what they want us to read. We only hear what they want us to. They wanna make us bleed. Bow down to the clouds. When the circus comes to town, bow down to the clouds. Watch the puppets dance and drown. Who's wearing the crown? Pulling strings, we all fall down. Bow down to the clouds. The greatest fucking show in town. in town.
Next up is another stalwart of the UK thrash scene. This is Solitary and Requiem. Okay, next up is a band that is probably going to divide some opinion. These guys are coming out of London, they're doing thrash metal but with an extremely different vocal. These guys are called Temper Shot and this is First Strike.
fields run red, riding with the gods of war, killing is our outlet. Best of the best, earn respect, learn to not become foolish. Soldiers from the outset, battle born and ruthless. Rage, confusion, religion and delusions. Kingdoms rise, kingdoms fall, it's the same conclusion. Breeding grounds infecting minds to rise above their station. Twisted by corruption, cause power's an illusion. First strike, fade to the left, cutting to the right. Shields up, gotta keep the wall locked tight. Advance on the enemy is fight or flight. First strike, bodies to the left, the bodies to the right. Fire with precision, watch the flames ignite. On the wings of death, killing all inside. Burn, burn.
And that was Temp Shot, putting a definite new twist on the thrash metal genre. Okay, thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Please follow us online at UK Thrashers in all the normal social media places. Get us on your podcasts again at UK Thrashers or Thrasherers. Anyway, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those sorts of places. Or find us online, ukthrashers.org. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.